Hi, everybody. I'm Kelsey Lynn Brown. I'm the president of Wonderful Worldwide Educators. We support the all natural environment, and the children are the future now. We're all about making better choices and becoming more aware. We support everyone becoming healthier and having more fun on earth while planting trees, doing gardens, and anything to support what makes sense here. So, with that, I have a wonderful guest on today who I've connected with on Facebook. And I love that she shares rainbows and a lot of wonderful, calming, very real, pure energy. Her name is Miss Julie, and I found her through a Facebook group she has. And she was sharing about HEALY, and this is a healing device, a scanning device. Julie will share a little bit about that with us and how it works because it's very wonderful. And it's also something that I'm interested in having at our new health and awareness clinic that we're going to be starting in Baja, Mexico, and then also do other clinics and centers around the earth. So without further ado, here's Miss Julie. Please say hello. And could you tell us where you're at? Maybe a little bit about yourself. Like, I did see that you have done a big transformation in your life with becoming healthier and more aware and making a lot of awesome choices and even getting into some wonderful healing businesses. So please tell us a little bit about yourself, Miss Julie. Thank you for showing up today.
Hi, everybody. I'm Julie Schindler. I live on the west coast of America in Seattle, or near Seattle, close to Mount Rainier. I am a mom of two, and I've been married for 25 years. And so, about 10 years ago, my life changed forever when a box fell on my head and crushed my cervical spine. And so over the course of 10 years, the first 6 of it were really dark, working through chronic pain and everything that went with this injury. This injury left me permanently disabled and living horizontally from a pillow. And so 4 years ago, after almost a near-death experience, we were given these pops of color while we were in the deeper darkness of palliative care. And as we were in sedation, we would get these pops of color that would give us ways out of pain. And the first one came when I was writing my eulogy to save pain for my family. And it was this pop of color that said, "Don't wait, tell them now." And so I just started following every pop of color that I would get into my subconscious mind. And it changed it, where before it was dark and dreary and it wasn't a great place to be. But every time I would fall into pain, I would go into this nothingness and this numbness. And it was kind of gray, kind of murky, not a lot of sunshine. And so while I was in this pain, these pops of color would bring new ways out, whether that was just putting on my rainbow repeat, which was bringing in every color that I could get into my bedroom. It changed what I was watching or what I was listening to. It just showed me different ways to color pain in really what it was. So about 2 years into palliative care, which was 3 years ago in March, I was shown a way out of palliative care, which there was no succession plan off of it. So these pops of color just showed me that it was time and that I could step away from all of the drugs and that my guides were here to help me. And I had met my guides briefly when my father-in-law passed away. He had never left me when he left this earth. And he was able to speak with me and show me how to help the family through his death. And that's my very first connection to my spirit guides. And so after that experience, when he finally transitioned fully over, I had this beautiful team that surrounded me, and they were throwing these pops of color at me and saying, "Okay, try this and do this." And I just kind of surrendered. I was at this moment, it was right as 2020 was beginning, and my palliative care team wasn't going to be able to help me. So instead of doing pain patches and different things that we'd never tried before, we just decided to stop and do it cold turkey and die trying if that was to be the case. And that wasn't. We were given so many new different ways of drinking in the rainbow. And at that time, I was told I would need a feeding tube. So there was a lot going on. And my guide said, "This time will be different. Everything you need is within you, and we got you. And so that's really what this last 3 years has been. It created this frequency of forgiveness. And forgiveness is everything I've ever feared. And the biggest one was losing my voice. And so when you tap into forgiveness, it's like 13 cosmic colors. And you get to really color pain. You get to color all aspects of your life. And this frequency is available to everyone. We all have it within us. We just have to tap in. And so now we go through this frequency and we've been able to go back and meet our inner child, which was an amazing experience. And our inner child, she showed us that we have this trash can of traumas and insecurities. And with forgiveness, it is self-love, self-forgiveness. It's about no one else but you, and gratitude. And for us, gratitude elevates our truth. So when we were able to really get grateful for living and being here, and even if it was horizontal, get grateful for the 4 hours we did get up, it changed everything. And our inner child showed us how to go back and forgive ourselves for holding on to the shame and blame of everything that's in our trash can. And most of it, it's not even our fault. It may have been gestational trauma or things that sexual abuse that happened in our childhood. But she showed us that we can go back and heal from the inside out and get rid of it all and turn our trash into treasure. And so that's the journey we've been on. And now we help others. We are a horizontal healer and an Akashic Reiki master. And we help children and women and men and healers to really balance out their energy, to color pain, and to tap into their own healing forgiveness channels. And then they help grow the big channel for all of us. They toss in all of their healing modalities, and we get to just have fun by putting our rainbow on repeat.
Wow, that's so amazing. I love that. That's so wonderful. You came in with all these colors and you learned how to heal yourself. And here's the little girl or the child that comes through and it's the real you and you're just able to let it go and see everything for what it is and just release a lot. And now you're assisting. How cool is that with the rainbow and the pops of color? I haven't heard of that. I love that. And you just went with your intuition. It came in and you went with it and it's taking you on this journey which is multidimensional. You were able to heal yourself where others may have thought you wouldn't have been able to or you would have needed certain things. And now you're assisting others. You've proven that it's possible. It's very cool. Thank you for sharing that. And so, is it that you're also assisting children in the physical with their pain, or are you doing calls? How do you facilitate a healing session? Does it always involve the Healy device?
No, first off, we just go with energy. So the the Healy was brought into my life by a holistic health care professional who, when I was very disassociated from all feelings. I had spent 15 years in the fashion industry and I had never sat on a yoga mat. I had no spiritual connection whatsoever. And I walked away before this injury. I had walked away from my job and I just was looking for joy. And I wanted to bring joy to me and my children, but I just didn't know how. And it was a year later that I had stepped into a new role. I had taken a year off with my kids and we traveled the world. And then I stepped into a new role, and it was my third day on the job that a box fell and crushed my cervical spine. So that was the universe telling me that I probably wasn't in the right job, that there wasn't the direction that was going to bring me joy. But it took a while to really tap into that. And when you're in pain, when you live in chronic pain, all I could say was, I'm in pain. Well, I could tell you in my body where I felt it, but I learned that our pain could be emotional, it could be spiritual, it could be mental or physical. And so to learn how to do that, it was the Healy that was brought in that said, let me show you what your emotions are. We're going to scan your entire field, so anything 6 feet around you, and it could include your caregivers, because I had a lot of people helping me at the time. but it would break down my emotions for me and give them into words and color. And the first time that I read it, I was like, oh yeah, that's me. That's happening to me. But I had never had the words for it. And the Healy, it works on a cellular level. So it sends frequencies to you, to your cells, to help balance them out and heal from the inside out. Well, when you don't know what you needed to heal and what was really holding you back, it broke that down for you so you could put words into your mind and change your subconscious mind and give yourself an avenue to understand really what was going on inside. So I would have these Healy scans done. I would be able to read my emotions, and I would be able to say, yes, that's happening to me, or I don't know, or I'm not ready for that yet. That's a big, that's a big emotion. And then it does the work for you. You now know what's happening, but then it scans your body and it sends small frequencies and currents to you that allow your body to release it and to establish a balance within it. And after doing a few of the scans, I kind of got addicted because it was doing a lot of that inner work for me before I learned how to do the inner work. And so now I use the Healy to really understand what is happening within that child's 6 feet. I can do it for any child across the entire world. Earlier last year, I was helping a little girl with cancer. And while she was going through her cancer treatments and in the hospital, we would do these scans for her. And when I would send it to the parents, it would be all of the emotions within her 6 feet. So a lot of them weren't even hers. It was how dad was feeling or how mom was feeling, or even a nurse that worked with her a lot. It showed her emotions. And so it's able to bring them to light. Mom and dad could talk and have a conversation about the things that they were feeling. And then it helped them to raise their daughter's energy by understanding what she was going through, when a 4-year-old really can't tell you exactly how she feels. So we use it that way, and then I just tap into my own intuitive channel and give whatever healing is needed for that child or woman, man, whoever I'm working with.
That's so beautiful. I appreciate that it's for the children and you're doing it for the children. And wow, that actually brings up a lot for me because I was in a hospital for only a couple days. I had an emergency surgery when I was 7, and it was difficult to explain what I was going through. Now I have a little bit more language to use than I did then. And looking back, mainly the reason I was even rushed into an emergency surgery, which appears to be really unnecessary now, was because of all of the stress and the worry and the trauma and wherever the focus of those doctors were, not really on me and what was really going on within my body. And it's interesting because lately I've had someone doing some manipulations on my neck, and it's the same thing. There's been, how do I say, like views that have come in, like attachments, and the individual that does the manipulations will say, okay, your neck's not turning here, and a view will come in and it's like, this person controls you, like a particular person that's been in my life. And then I'll let it go, and then he'll say, oh, it moved. And that happened about 3 times with 3 different things. So fortunately, I pay attention to what does come through and let it go. So that's a big deal. Like you're sharing, it's the self-awareness that, hey, we have our physical bodies that are holding pain, which often end up being the dumping ground for our emotional bodies that have their own traumas and pain, our mental bodies, then we have past memory pain, and then there's a lot going on unconsciously too, and we even bring it over from other lifetimes. I've known many people, they've gone to all the doctors, no one can figure out what's going on, and finally they'll find a psychic and they'll say, okay, this is some past life thing that you've got going on here, this is what it is. And then it just bringing it to the light will release it. And it really does open you up that there's a whole lot more to explore, and it starts to give you a purpose to life. And you do start to see where you can assist others to show themselves how to heal themselves. And one other example that proves as to what you're sharing is with myself. I've had a little bit of hip pain that I've realized. And on one side of the hip, it's more like I described to the individual that was digging in to massage out the trauma of it and the pain. Is more like a mental pain more than even a physical pain. And then on the other hip, it's like, no, that's like a physical pain. It's a big difference. So it's very interesting when we start to pay attention to all of this, and we're not, and the medical doctors aren't taught this. Maybe some do learn this and bring it in, which is wonderful. For the most part, it's usually focused on the physical and what's going on, and then here, take the drugs that's prescribed for it, and usually many times creates a lot more problems that individuals need to detox later. So I really like this. This is really great. I really want people to listen to that about the children when they're in the hospitals and when they're with the doctors, that the adults a lot are creating these influences that are affecting the children. And so it's really listen to the children, and what you're doing with what you're presenting with the Healy is very important, something very important for these doctors or professionals to learn to use and to broaden their perspectives and how they influence the patient, and how they need to have a little bit more of an objectivity to the patient, instead of, a lot of times they're just in their literal mind on their clipboard writing down, looking at numbers and not really paying attention, and even realizing that, one of the biggest things is that most of the nurses that I've seen and doctors, they're really not open to, hey, there are ways to heal. There are many multiple ways to heal, and there are, they say cures, and then it said they don't want you to use that word cure, but that they do exist. I mean, literally everything has been proven that you can heal and cure anything. People, there's possibilities to regrow, your teeth or organs and limbs and things like this. So as we just keep exploring and keep challenging what we have been literalized with and read from textbooks, there's it's endless. People will say, oh, it's a miracle. Well, it's how things work throughout the levels and the natural environment, applied and seen and recognized correctly, more than it's like something that just is a miracle, even though we do have those unexplainable instances, which are really wonderful. And many times that's from other beings, like you connected with your guides. There's many beings, like I have guides around me, Gopal Das and Rev Zartar, Jabal Sakabi, and they can come in and they can really bring light and healing to you and show you how to do it for yourself, which is the best part, because like what you're doing now, you can assist so many others. And I just find it amazing, like all the children in Africa too, like to assist the children there, because I know that there's been a lot of purposeful disruption of the children there, and they're so awesome and so pure. I love seeing them running around and playing football, or as we call it, soccer, and everything like that. So it's very cool. And with your experience, so are you selling like any like products? Do you make like any juices or powders or anything that you sell? Because I did see that you maybe, do you do some juice cleanses, or do you suggest things like that? What do you
Yeah.
suggest for those to do on their own?
So I can definitely, what I started with, because I was losing my ability to chew and swallow, I was told that a feeding tube was my only option. And to get off palliative care, you had to kind of fill the insides with nutrients. And so what we started doing was really blending up with just a Vitamix blender. We would blend up the rainbow. And it was, watermelon and pineapple, and it was all those good things. But it was the needed ingredients like the char and the collard greens and the things that we really don't get in our daily lives all the time. And so I started with a recipe, and it had 50 vegetables in it. And we started blending up this big drink. And all of the recipes are available for free. Everything that I do, I stepped in as a world server about 2 years ago, and everything that I do is given back to the world. Because I get to live here and get to be alive, it's really just a way to give back. And so we started creating this recipe, and now it's down to between 30 and 40 vegetables. We took out like the garlic. We took out a lot of the things that weren't able to drink for all ages, all every single day. But we make it once a month in home, and we blend up all the vegetables into one drink, and it actually tastes really good. And then we jar it up and we freeze it. And so I know that I would never get 40 vegetables in a day out of one in any day. And now I get to drink this beautiful drink, and you only drink about 3 to 4 ounces of it. And it's in a pulp base. So you put your pulp in, and then you add your water to kind of bring it back to life. And then we add a little bit of pineapple juice to it. And so my husband, my son, everyone in my family drinks it. And then we have multiple drinks. So we have one that's grateful greens. We have one that's a rainbow roots, which is 15 root vegetables and herbs. And that tastes really good too. We do a rainbow dust, which is freeze-dried powders. So it's every fruit and vegetable you can kind of put into a freeze-dried powder. And we create that. And we use chia seeds. So if you take a tablespoon of chia seeds and you soak them into water, it brings them back to life, and it gives you the same nutrients as a chicken breast. And so that was really our saving grace over the last few years that have kept me off of a feeding tube. I've lost 60 pounds of physical body weight in the process. And it's just kind of our rainbow repeat, we call them. So yeah, all of those recipes are available online on our Forgiveness Healing with Color on Facebook. We have a group, but I can send them to anyone who is wanting to see these recipes and try them out for yourselves in your own homes. What I wanted to say about before is that energy is going to be our new currency. Energy is a way of healing. And even standing, I had a whole bunch of medications that I was placed on for inflammation and pain. And it was to do that, I had a whole bunch of side effects that went with it. And I learned that our bodies cannot have inflammation in bodies that are energetically grounded. So I started walking outside. It's like 12 steps from my pillow. And I would walk outside every morning at sunrise, wrapped in a blanket, and put my bare feet on the ground. And that will take away all of the nighttime pain that I had. It took away all of the inflammation inside my body. And I felt better. Like my steps there were painful, but my steps back weren't as painful. And so I just kept going. So we do grounding 3 times a day. And if any healthcare professionals was just to look at what they have on their feet, I think since the 1960s, we've had synthetic soles on our shoes. And so our children, they also have the same thing. They rarely go barefoot. We put shoes on, or we put socks on their feet. If we were just to eliminate shoes and put our children and our own selves outside on the grass barefoot, even just for 10 minutes a day, we are going to see a huge, huge change in our energy and our energy blockages. And the children that I work with, I have 100 children in Africa that we read stories to every Friday and Saturday. And we're giving them a way to color their own pain. But before we start, I wrap them in a hug of healing universally guided. And it is a distance healing that allows them to receive energy the entire time we're together. And it changes. Every single one of those children have a different smile on their face. They can sit for longer periods at a time. Their attention span is, they are drawn and drawn into whatever we're working on that day. So there are so many ways that we can change the world, our future for our children, because many of them were born out of our own pain. Many of them were born out of someone else's pain. And in these children in Zambia, they have no connections to their family. We have some that were born with gestational trauma of HIV, and they were born with it. And so these children have belly backpacks, is what I call them, of other people's pain that they were birthed into. And it's our job as their caregivers and loved ones and adults on this, humans on this earth, to give back to the children and release those belly backpacks. Take all those pebbles out of it and help them to release the blockages of energy that they have stored in it from someone else, and it's not theirs to carry anymore. So there's so many cool ways to be able to do it, but I'm just excited I could share forever. I'm excited to talk about it. Thank you, Kelsey.
Oh, it's so cool. Grounding is so great. I used to live in Huntington Beach, California, and I lived off a Pacific Coast Highway. So every day I got to walk on the ocean multiple times a day and on the wet sand and swimming and surfing. Oh, it was so wonderful. I'm going to be getting out here more now. It's getting a little bit warmer, but I've always walked barefoot. And even into stores and things like that. So I do have those 5 finger shoes. They're basically the only pair of shoes I wear. I've worn boots a few times when it's been very cold over here in Virginia. Sometimes it snows here. And that's basically what I have. I used to have a pair of sandals that had a grounding rod in it. So when you walked, it grounded you, but I don't have those anymore. So grounding is awesome. I've seen documentaries on it where people have totally transformed their lives and healed themselves just from playing outside. Then you're releasing a lot of energy too. You're having fun. And that's what the children, we just watch them and we can learn to have a lot more fun. So yeah, when we're not stressing them and giving them, trauma and all these big ideas about, how they need to be literal and get a particular degree and things like that. It's amazing what they can share with us and what they can create and build and transform with their being. So it's really cool what you're doing. I like the pops of color. And I just really appreciate that came in for you and that you paid attention to it. I did have a friend that she used to see people and she said, oh, they're that color, they're this color, they're that color, and it explained a little bit about the way that they were. So what else did you want to share? Because you're very excited to share more about healing and the children. So please do go ahead.
Oh my goodness. There are so many different things. I think when it comes to what we can do as parents and caregivers for children is just to really tap into our own inner child and have fun in the time that we do have in these beautiful bodies that we have right now. I get to work on a multi-dimensional level with beings that are from, our ET environments and our galactical teams. And so when they come through, they are so fascinated about our bodies and our physical bodies. And what does it feel like to be hugged? And it's really, hugs heal. Like 60-second hugs are a huge thing in our family. And my children are adulting duos right now. They're 21 and 26, and they still get a 60-second hug from mom and dad when they're just kind of having an off day, or we can see that their energy levels are dropping. We will just hug it out. And I think our children need to know that they have the healing ability within them, and they heal us in that hug. And so really, if there's anything we could do with our children, a barefoot walk with your child or cat. So your cat kids or animal kids, they are huge healing portals. So taking your animals outside and just following them where they walk in your yard, seeing where your cats go or where your dogs like to, where their favorite parts of the yard are. Doing that barefoot, you are getting that connection. It's kind of like brownie points, I feel, where you get cosmic brownie points when you are able to spend time in nature, spend time with our animal kingdom, spend time looking up the skies. I spend majority of my time horizontal. So if it's sunny out, I take my pillow outside on a blanket and I watch the skies and I get to see the clouds and all of the energy funnels that we have coming in right now. It's been amazing. Today in Washington, we've had rain, hail, and it snowed for almost an hour all in one day because of the beautiful energy that we have coming in from the sun right now. So there are so many unique ways that we can tap into healing, and it's really just having fun, finally understanding nothing, turning on music, dancing on your pillow if you can't have the ability to do it upright. So I am here to. I know each of us have someone who lives with depression or anxiety, or you may have know someone who is a disability, that they are bedbound. Any of those that you can think of, you can think of one person in your life who could utilize color in theirs. That is who I'm here to help. Those are the hearts that I'm here to bring a little extra color into their life, to show them that they don't have to live in the dark and dreary anymore, and that they can put their own rainbow on repeat, and it costs them nothing except time. And I know for me, I have plenty of time on my pillow, or used to, before that I got involved with the children. But it has been my purpose to my pillow to help the littles in this world to have a little bit more sunshine and know how to put their own rainbows on repeat. So that's my mission, and I'm honored to be here, to still be here to do that.
It's great. You're having so much fun doing it. And that's what makes it wonderful. Like, you're having fun. It's very cool. And with the animals, yeah, see, they're always, they're not wearing shoes or socks or pantyhose or whatever. And they're more aware of when, like, the rain is coming, or the thunder, or big winds, or even tornadoes, or even people, or any kind of warning, because they're attuned to the earth. And so when we can do that, we can be more attuned also, and even sometimes move some of the weather away from us, or hold it off until we can get to a shelter, like the native peoples were, who many times were a lot more in tune with the other levels, and had a lot more simplicity to be open to talk with the plants and see, hey, what do you need, earth, or what can you show us? It's very, very cool. I noticed many years actually. I've been seeing a lot, probably for at least 10 years now, but it showed up more recently. I've noticed a lot more cities appearing in the sky and the clouds, a lot more cities coming about, just like there's a lot more ships that are in the clouds also. And I've seen in the past few months actually a lot more interdimensional beings that look like grays, and actually one of them showed up that looks like the fella from ET, actually looked just like him. So yeah, a lot of beings been coming through for quite a while, more and more, and showing up some more and more individuals. So it's really cool to listen to the experiences of others, and also what's going on their planes, and to get them to pay attention to what's going on here, so we can all support each other in the all natural environment on all life levels. And the hugs, that's a big deal. Yeah, I remember the other day I was looking back at I had a blunt force trauma when I was 7, and I was looking back, like, what did I need, or what was, what was one thing that was a possibility to remedy the situation without even getting into maybe the aftercare of having like herbal remedies or any other kind of multidimensional healing. And that was, just like a hug, just to be coddled, like, that's it. That was really is pretty much it. And that was like a big realization for me, that really that's wonderful when the parents and the community and the caregivers can give that to the children, because really they what they're asking for, what they're needing when they're crying or shouting, is someone to be there with them in their experience, whatever it is, even when the adult doesn't understand the experience, simply to be there with them. I mean, that's like a huge weight off. That's a huge greatness. So
And when you work with your inner child, it's doing the same thing. So when you get to go back and reparent your inner child and go back to forgiveness, What we do is a jam session. So we journal it out, we get it all out. So the inner child gets to share the entire experience. So whether I'm working with my inner child or a child physically, share the entire experience, get it all out, and know that I am here to listen to you. Then we're going to affirm all of the things that we just heard, everything the child or inner child had to share. And then we get to really work on mirror work or meditation or mindfulness or music. Some kids just need to go straight to listening to music to get a lot of those emotions to be released. So we call it a jam session: journal, affirmation, mirror work, music, meditation, mindfulness, or muscle movement. So we work through whatever that is with the child or inner child, and it's really reparenting them. It's giving your inner child a hug and letting them know that I am sorry that you went through this experience and that there was no one there to listen to you and understand. Even if you told the world what was happening, it wasn't replicated. And so you get to let them have a voice, and then you get to let them understand that they are acknowledged, and then you get to love on them. And it's the inner child who always comes back to me with the gratitude that I missed. I will remember the pain as the adult. And when they go back to their trash can, they'll show me gratitude. And they'll say, wait, you have to get grateful because, wait, my brothers and sisters were there. They just didn't know what I was going through. Or I had an aunt and uncle in this experience that showed up when my parents didn't show up. So the inner child shows you that gratitude elevates the truth of that experience, and then we can kind of let it go. And it's these bird boomerangs. So we boomerang back out anything that we want to send out there into the world. And it's not about forgiving anyone else but me. It's for myself and my inner child to find forgiveness, the forgiveness of self, and then boomerang out that into the world. And those boomerangs will reach whoever they need to. They will give the forgiveness to my abusers. They will give the forgiveness to my parents or those who hurt me. But the one big thing that we forgot is that our bodies keep score. Our bodies hold the memories inside of those traumas. It doesn't matter how many years until we release them. So last month or just a few weeks ago, felt like I was rebirthing, and I couldn't understand why I was going through these birth pains again. And I thought, well, maybe it was an ascension symptom and I was helping the collective. But no, 26 years ago, I had a very traumatic birth of my son. And it also connected to a traumatic sexual abuse from earlier in my life that came up during birth. And my body was still holding score for that. And so I had to go on a yoga mat and literally give myself love and send love to every aspect of my body and walk through that birth and then reconnect that birth to the trauma and let go of both of those so my body could let go of it. And I didn't have, a menstrual cycle last month. And I thought, well, gosh, I'm 47. Am I going to have my period? Am I going through menopause? Well, no, it was my body still holding score for that trauma that I still needed to be released. And once we did it, it was just an amazing kind of tribal dance, if I could say, share the experience. It was just this beautiful tribal dance, and we got to let it all go. But it required a yoga mat, it required a pillow, it required music, and it required me to go back in so that I could, forward and release that back out.
That's so cool. That's what I've been doing recently, like more consciously, more aware of it. And what it is that you're sharing is it's a very soft experience. It's a very calm experience. There's nothing, invasive or painful about it, physically painful. That is where a lot of, like, I look back at the doctor's visits and things like that, there's a lot of pain, surgeries and things like that, to the extent that it's so much pain that they completely give you drugs, so you're even totally out of your body. So there's a much more grounded and simpler and calmer, even though the experience may be relieved in a moment or maybe more than one. So that's what I was going to ask you too. With the individuals that you're assisting, the children or the adults, is it usually that it's something that is resolved in one session, or is it multiple, or you're usually finding that there's, there's not just one trauma, there's many traumas to go through?
Yeah, so what we do is we'll do a full body scan. And so with my injury, I was gifted a light language. And at the beginning, it's been there since day one. So my spinal cord has small holes and tears in it. So every morning I have to sit still like this, and it drains out my entire spinal cord for 3 hours. And then once my spinal cord is drained, I'll get my voice back and movement back. And so during those 3 hours, it is a very spiritual time now. Before it wasn't. It was very painful and it was very daunting. And so now we drop into our intuitive channel, our kind of rainbow bridge, and we ask the questions of the Akashic records, and we ask our guides and the Divine Mother and Father all of these questions of healing that we can offer to ourselves and to others. So when I'm with a client, what we'll do is we'll scan the entire body, and then it'll show me exactly in color where those blockages are. And then when I'm doing the scan over their body, the light language will break up the particles for the client, and it will give me messages and I will deliver those to the client. If it's a child, they just hear light language. And so they hear a whole bunch of pops and clicks, and their body will just settle. And if we get to a blockage in the throat area, we'll just stay there as long as the clicks and pops and the light language goes, and then we're able to move on to the next spot. And so usually within that first session, the main blockages are opened at least, and then we will be able to work through those as time goes on.
That's neat. I used to do a little bit of light language maybe 9 years ago, and it was really fun actually. And I remember one time, one gal, she told me, "Wow, whatever you're doing is like healing and opening up my heart." And I said, "Really? That's interesting, because when it came through, it was for the heart." And she didn't realize that. And I used to go outside a lot and look at the sun, and constantly I had symbols coming in to what individuals refer to as the third eye. And then I go right down, it come to me like a word. What is this symbol meaning? So that's very cool. There's a lot more that can be done, and a lot more modalities and multidimensionality for individuals to become aware of. And your voice is wonderful. You have a very good voice, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. So I'll share a little bit of the light language with you. So last year in October, I think it was October 20th, there was a beautiful portal that was reopened in Mount Rainier. And so I would go outside, and I didn't know why I was out there. I just would know that energy was coming through. And it was a lot of ships and a lot of Merkabas that were coming through, of a lot of different energies. And so I would tap into, it's called a soul mirror, and I would tap into whoever was coming through, and I would be kind of their portal in, and they would transition through me, and they would always leave me a gift. And that gift I would then alchemize and give back to the collective. And so it's always in light language. So when they come through and I don't necessarily get to see, I get to see what they see through their eyes. So when I blink, the next blink, I would get to see their family if their family's in front of me, regardless of what type of being it was. I would get to see elementals if it was the animal kingdom. My favorite one was a woolly mammoth. And all of these videos of these meet and greets are on YouTube. So I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew that I needed to stand outside and receive in this information. But it was a woolly mammoth, and my body had to expand to get the portal open big enough. And so when I soul blinked into this woolly mammoth, it was such like the grace and gratitude, and it was this like hollowness, but it was like a warm hug from your grandmother. And it was the coolest experience of my life, that I got to be inside this woolly mammoth for just a split second, to just the grace and gratitude is really the biggest things that came out of it, and love. There was such unconditional love coming from this animal. And we made the portal big enough, and my breath had to change. Everything kind of had to change to get this animal through. And the gift that I received, it was like a grandmother's hug. And I hadn't felt that in so long. It was so beautiful. But the light language that goes off, I'll give you just a little bit of it since I'm talking about these beautiful creatures. And so it'll go on for hours and hours, as we're receiving information, and then we give it back out through the same light language out into the collective, through videos or story times that we do with the kids. It is funneled through all of anything that I do on social media. It's through my voice, because my hands, you see them moving, but they don't work very often physically to hold and do things. But then I get the opportunity to give it back to the collective in super special ways.
You know, it reminds me of a polar bear, and I had this sensation of warmth as you were explaining it. I actually didn't meet the grandmother, so yeah, I know that's like a literal view, but I did get the sensation of warmth. Very cool, like polar bears. Appreciate it. Yeah, and I have a little bit going on with my hands sometimes too. I can relate. Fortunately, I don't have too much trouble holding anything like that. I did one time. I did have a glass finally fall out of my hand. It went so numb. So I've been doing what I can to, get a little bit better with that. And what is really cool is like I like the bird sounds too. You sort of sound a little bit like a woodpecker. There's a lot of birds here, and there's woodpeckers here. And I've been listening to whales lately too.
Whales and dolphins. Yeah,
Yeah, let's talk about whales and dolphins a little bit.
so the whales and dolphins are usually, most of this is coming from a galactical family. So a galactical soul family is bringing in a lot of the light language, but it really connects with the ocean. And when I watched Avatar for the first time ever, was this year. I watched both of them. We watched the first one to remind us what the second one was. I'd never seen the first one, and it was like coming home, to when I got to be under the water again. So there is this beautiful connection that we are able to utilize, and we all have the ability to have light language. We just have to release enough of our energy to allow us to express out. Some of us may sing in tones and sounds that we've never heard before. And so what we've been doing over the last 6 months is expanding our echo chamber. And in August, like Elvis came through. I had thrown my hands up to my team and said, please help me, because the little girl that I assist, her cancer relapsed, and she is struggling from neuroblastoma cancer, stage 4. And so the relapse took us from a 60% chance of life to an 8% chance of life. And so I threw my hands up and I said, I need you to help me. How do I reach cancer? And I was delivered Elvis. And I was delivered this beautiful song, If I Could Dream. And for months, all I sang was this song. And I had to sing it really low. And I had to go even lower than Elvis. I could never go up octaves. I could only go down. And so we built this echo chamber of sound that we are able to create with our light language and go all the way down to the lowest levels. And then lately we've been able to go like Whitney Houston and go really super high. And I can get higher further laying flat than I can if I'm standing. So we do a lot of it's called full body alchemy, and it's alchemizing whoever we're helping for the collective. We can alchemize it when we're horizontally, and our whole body kind of goes into I consider it like a grand mal seizure, and it will just completely vibrate, and we are able to help these beings help their sound come through and their energy, whatever energy that they're at. We have this echo chamber that we can kind of go through, and when we hit their chamber, when they hit their frequency, then the light language goes off, and then I'll know that I'm at the right frequency to connect with whoever I'm working with. So it's been really, really cool, but I couldn't have done it without Elvis, and all of the Elton John was in there. There's so many of them. So I encourage everyone to try it out, just to allow your body to sing and allow it to make sound in any way that it wants to. And you will be able to tap into dolphins or whales or woodpeckers. There's so many that are ready to talk to you as well.
Oh, you're so right. There are so many that are ready to tell us what's going on so that we'll also support the planet too and wake up and become more aware, because they're very aware, the whales. And I do appreciate that letting go and singing. I was doing that like not so long ago, and it was exactly like my lives in the Amazon. And it's so amazing because it was like one time I've done that in my life, the singing like that, and it simply came through, and I had no restrictions with it. So, so wonderful to let go and sing. And there's a song that I suggest for anyone to test. It's like, new you. So it's like, new you. And singing that for 5 minutes, 10, 15, 20 before bed and in the rising, you usually remember your dream visions, and you connect a lot easier to the other dimensions and your other bodies, your inner child. You're able to see the intent of others. You become much more aware. It's very wonderful sound with the natural environment.
Oh, I love that. And just the way that you had the octaves that went up and down, it really was just like a ribbon wave that was going through. That's what I could see as I was hearing you sing that.
It's very cool that I actually, on my YouTube channel, I have a lot of experiences from others that have sang it around the earth, and their dream experiences, or actually real side experiences. Dream is the word that we've been literalized from, like, the systems of the earth, but there are multidimensional experiences, and they're on my YouTube. And I did write a book with some of my experiences because it shared like why I'm here, to share this new sound with others, to become more aware of their real awareness, to be able to surpass all of this creation and trauma and really the unawareness that we have agreed to while being on earth. And I've received a lot of warnings and then a lot of wonderful experiences that there is a lot more than what we're taught, even through just the educational systems, spirituality systems, the scientific systems, transcendental, and religion. It's like, and anyone can try it and test it. Like, I met many people in religion that have tried it and they immediately connect to angels. I mean, it doesn't matter who you are. It's like really fun. And sometimes it's a lot, actually. For some people, the experiences become such light that they even like take a break from it. So it's something really cool. And it's interesting you mentioned Elvis and that you were going lower with it, because recently I was learning that, many times when we're making like a command, or something that we're like to be so, and for others to listen, then and to do it, then you do make those that lower lower voice, so that you are considered more competent, actually. So it's like very interesting that that was what you were given. And that's cool. Whitney Houston, yeah, I was just considering her the other day. I wanted to listen to that song, I Will Always Love You. It's cool.
Yeah. And really just allow your voice to expand and go as high, even if it's out of tune, your body will tune itself. when you go up there. And at the beginning, I'm like, I could never sing that. Well, I can now. And it's not necessarily the song, it's just the actual tones that we need. That gets us really high. So for me, the frequency of forgiveness runs in an infinity loop. And when I first started, it was like a fusion frenzy. I couldn't find my center. And when we find our center through song or meditation or mindfulness, grounding, when we find our center, we get to clear out that and decide what happens in that infinity loop. And so when we're in these musical tones in this echo chamber, when you find your center, it takes you all the way up. And this infinity loop just keeps going and going. And when we want to reach those that are unawakened or that have the low densities, when we go low, like Elvis, and we go all the way down, that's where we can actually reach their vibration. And if we just kind of go low enough that we're reaching their vibration, but step it up one, they will step up with us. So it really, we have, I mean, the world is our, or the universe is our oyster when it comes to it. But I'm excited to try out that video and see where my echo chamber can go with it.
That's so cool. Thank you, Julie. I appreciate your sharing. And I'm gonna say that it's been really wonderful that we've shared today. And I was laughing a little bit because, you know, it reminds me of when you're saying like reaching people that are at a particular frequency, you know, and they're kind of, you know, maybe mad or angry or something, and then you start singing, and especially when you go low with them, they will. I've noticed it, just, you know, they'll come back up with you. So it's really practical, it's really fun. And that's what's so cool about the children is like what you and I are sharing, like they do it, you know. The difference is they don't really recognize it, they don't really recognize how wonderful they are and what they're doing. And you mentioned gratitude. This is a real reality when we can live in that. Like that is all, you know, what else do you need? And then you just live in that and you just do what you do from that, and like everything is wonderful. Like, yeah, and you just do the best you can. So you're reaching a lot of individuals on earth and even throughout the other levels. So I see that you're very appreciated for what you're doing. Many interdimensional beings appreciate it, and especially the children. I just love, again, that you're supporting the children with what you're doing and even reaching children that are in hospitals. That's like, I just love it. Probably because too, you know, I was there at a children's hospital when I was 7, you know, and I remember, you know, how they'd come around and they'd give us some kind of stuffed animals and stuff like that. So like when I see the children in those hospitals, you know, it's like, because I'm aware that there are ways for them to heal. So yeah, like really to be able to get to them so that they can do better and heal, and to get past like the indoctrination and the literalization of the adults and the parents that really don't realize that, you know, even to just pull their kid out of those hospitals and just go home and start to heal and start to get on the ground, you know. Totally, I've seen so many children's lives transform and save their lives, you know. It's just, I just wish for more people to be aware of this. So I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate you coming on and sharing about it. You shared a lot of fun today. And so do you have a YouTube channel, or what's your website where individuals can go and just listen to you more about what you're doing and learn more and connect with you?
Yeah, so I have a YouTube channel. It's under Julie Schindler, just my name. And I also have, it's called Speak Up Events, which is a YouTube channel and a Facebook page where Speak Up Events is allowing our children to speak up. So it's the child's version platform that we have for adults. So we have Forgiveness for adults and we have Speak Up in Color for children. And so over the last year and a half, I've been reading stories to children. The first 8 months was to Florentina and her friends, who were all battling neuroblastoma cancer. And then we wanted to give back. And so we connected with the Selecho Orphanage in Zambia, Africa, where 100 children live. And since June of last year, every Friday and Saturday, we put on a school of color. And they didn't even know their colors at the time we started. So our children range from 2 to 17 at the orphanage. And every Saturday we get to go live with them on Facebook and on YouTube. And we teach them how to color their emotions. So you see all of these colors behind me. These are all of the emotion spots that we go through to teach them how to name their emotion, how to color it, and then how to move it through them. And we are building out a school of color, which is what is behind me on this map. We're helping the children to build out a forever home and a school of color on newly purchased land that we raised enough money to buy the land. Now we are just raising enough money to build out their forever home. So all of our children are signed up with GPMS, which is the Global People's Monetary System, and that we hope will be soon be up and running. That will help us to build this out in fruition. But until then, we are helping the children to hold on to hope. And for the children, it's hold on, pain ends, because they live in poverty and pain and without electricity and water at times based on their circumstances. So Speak Up events and Speak Up in Color have been there to help bring awareness to their fight. And we want to change hope and actualize it for them so they can turn around and help one person every day.
Yeah, and see, like when the children like that are able to have the opportunity to do more or heal, then it makes a big difference, you know, because they have experienced the pain and the trauma, and they're often just like so much more grateful. I want to be in your Facebook group with the children, and that's what I see too in Baja, Mexico, with the health and awareness clinic that we're going to do. Is for a while I've had a vision to also have a women's center and even a natural birthing center, so the women can get away from these birthing trauma hospitals and just be able to be with their children, and or the male with them also, and just like have a wonderful free experience, like with less stress, less restriction, and all, you know, less of the intervention that just causes so much trauma for the mother and the child. So I do appreciate it. Thank you, Miss Julie. And anybody that wants to learn more about what Miss Julie is doing, please check out her YouTube and Facebook groups and contact her. And I'll add the links in the description of this video. And we will see you next time. And again, I'm Kelsey Lynn Brown, Wonder Writer, also known as Dr. Kelsey. So thank you, everyone. Support the natural environment and have fun out there. Do some singing and pay attention to the colors. Yeah, because colors are wonderful and healing. Thanks, Miss Julie.
Bye, everyone. Have a good day. Bye, Kelsey.
Bye. Thank you.